Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show. We filled it up with Christmas decorations because it's our Christmas episode. Now, Courtney's wearing red pants, so she is in the...
I'm in the holiday mood this week.
Yeah, she is in the spirit of Christmas. We welcome you to this special Stahls TV Morning Show where you can see we have four, I guess we would call ourselves co-hosts, guest hosts. I'm not sure. We're all kind of regulars. So what we're going to be doing today is a Q&A session. It's one of our most popular things that we do at trade shows when we have an Ask the Expert session. So this morning show is all about giving you guys the answers that you need. It's our spirit of giving at Christmas.
Yeah, and just as a quick update, we have a couple weeks off after this. So the day after Christmas will be off, and then I believe it's the day after New Year's Day as well. And so the morning show is going to take a little hiatus and join you again in 3 weeks. But today's episode, we'd encourage you, start typing in your questions now. If you have a question related at all to your decorated apparel business, we're here to answer it. Joe will be keeping an eye on the questions as they're coming in and feeding those into us. And then we have some questions that came in advance that we pulled off of places like previous morning shows or our YouTube channel, the Stahls TV forums. I think we know everybody on screen, but just in case, we have Bob Robinson with us, Josh Ellsworth, Courtney Kubitza, and Zach Ellsworth that will be handling your questions. And I'm going to start with a question that came in, and Courtney, will start with you. It's question number 1. Patricia asked it on a previous morning show, is how do we create monograms using vinyl? Is there a suggested program that can be used?
Yeah, so we do a lot of educating on monograms and how to specifically print with them with vinyl. I think when you're looking at software, one that we use traditionally is going to be CADWorks Live. So cadworkslive.com is just a cloud-based system that is completely online. You can get on there. It's free for all Stahls customers. And for me, it's really easy to design monograms in that way. The way that we design in that program or in any program, even if you're choosing to use something like CorelDRAW, is to download some monogram fonts that can help you create either the circle font or the script fonts that you're looking for. So we get those actually from a free font site called dafont.com.
What's it called again?
Dafont.
Dafont.
D-A-F-O-N-T. And we can download a lot of them there. So the cursive font is one that's one of my favorites for a script monogram. And they recently added what they call a monogrammos font. Yep. And it's got circle fonts, so you can easily create the circle fonts without having to do a lot of bookends and editing and stuff. So it makes it really easy.
Yeah, and a sneak preview, I know here at Stahls TV, we've been working hard for the last few weeks at least, probably more on a monogram guide. And so we hope to bring a lot more education on monogramming with heat transfer vinyl to you. That'll launch, release out to you sometime in mid-January, and we'll share it here on the morning show. Okay, I want to turn towards Bob for my next question. I really like this one because this talks about a trend that we've been seeing with glitter flake vinyl and sort of combining it with sublimation. Audrey asks on YouTube, is there any other type of heat transfer vinyl besides glitter flake that I can sublimate on? So can you start just by explaining sublimating on glitter flake, why you would want to do that, and then elaborate on it by answering the question?
Well, you know, glitter flake is crazy on fire as far as trends and popularity with the cheer and dance and the schools, everything. So the more bling, the better. So adding some color to that and making that more customized by adding color to it is an awesome process. And as we know with sublimation, you need polyester. Polyester is what receives the sublimation dyes or inks into it. So we only have a few options here. Yeah, the glitter flake being the most popular. You can also do it with flock. That is a polyester material. So the white obviously would be the preferred, or a very, very light, because you're going to get a transfer of color as you're using, as you're putting the extra color on top of color. You might consider some of the polyester twill as well.
Yeah, so good application if you want to sublimate onto dark fabrics. It's great to use flock or glitter flake as a sort of carrier to be able to accomplish that. So those are two of the products I know that we've tried here at Stahls TV and have had success. Zach, question came in from Angela on Stahls TV forums, and hopefully some questions are coming here through the GoToWebinar client. If not, we'd encourage you to ask them so we can answer your question. Angela asked on the Stahls TV forums, I really need to figure out how to format team names and numbers. She doesn't want to use pre-cut letters and numbers at all. She wants to cut them herself. What do you recommend as far as formatting?
Well, you can definitely format team names and numbers in your traditional design softwares, Adobe Illustrator, Corel Draw, but it is a little bit more time consuming than some of the softwares that are built specifically for it. So the one that I would recommend in particular is part of the CADWorks Live cloud-based solution, and it's called Easy Teams. And in Easy Teams, it's just that. You type in the name, the number, and you can choose the font, and it lays out everything for you, whether that's in a straight line of 2-inch letters. You can define your size. You can define whether you're going to be on a vertical arch, a straight line, whatever it is. It's easy to do on Easy Teams. So it's like the Staples Easy button for team names and numbers. So I would recommend Easy Teams.
Yeah, and so one of the big concerns I know when you're cutting names and numbers, it's great, but you have this sort of balance with a gap space between the name and the number that makes it really easy to place and lay out. And then you sort of have the other side of it, which says there's too much waste in that gap space. I'm losing 1.5 inches, 2 inches of material. So would you recommend, Bob, one over another to have them pre-spaced with that gap space versus just to try to nest them as tight and trim them and place them at the press?
I think it's a matter of personal preference. I'm a production kind of guy, and I'm always thinking that labor costs more than material in the long run. So I like the ability to lay a pre-spaced name number combination down all at one time, so I know that, one, that I'm straight, guaranteed straight in space properly, and two, I'm getting done faster. I just got to get the item off of the heat press and ready for another one.
So you like the pre-spaced method, Courtney? You like pre-spaced as well, or any other recommendations there?
I like pre-spaced as well, but I think the other recommendation would be to cut your costs, keep them low, and go with the pre-cut method where you're lining it up and pairing it with a pre-spaced name. And so when you reduce having that large waste on the outside of the carrier, yeah, you're spending more time lining it up, making sure your digits are lined up correctly in the correct spacing and straight, but you are reducing a lot of the cost of not having that waste around the lettering.
Yeah, so it really becomes a question of, where do I want to spend the time? If I have labor available at the heat press and I can save just by spacing it, it'll take more time to produce a garment, but for less total cost. But I know some people, they even go the extreme that they don't even want to weed at all. They want to order everything pre-cut, pre-spaced just to keep it very simple at the heat press. And that's really a trend that we're seeing out there in the market is people want to outsource more of production. I know you've experienced that firsthand as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, you don't know. I was trying to throw you a line. Well, I know you've been working with a lot of companies that are looking to scale the business through outsourcing things like cut and sew sublimation and different production processes. But in our visit to Moose's Enterprises, which was with the Stahls TV Blueprint, they sort of wanted to do everything in-house. And one of the key ways that we told them that they could grow the business and sort of leverage their core staff is to free up their time through outsourcing certain components.
Yeah, component production outsourcing is a recommendation that we've been making a lot recently because full-time staff that's qualified is very hard to come by, and somebody is making you the most money, at least in our opinion, when they're at the heat press actually finishing a garment. So anything leading up to that finishing of the garment, find a way, if it's cost effective, to outsource it. And that has been a way that people have been able to scale their business more quickly.
Good. And David asked a specific question on YouTube that related to this as far as scaling a business with heat printing. And I'm going to throw this to sort of the whole panel here. Can a business survive a mass production setting with heat presses being the print process? The mass production amount being anywhere between 1,000 and 10,000 t-shirts. Maybe purchase 5 or 10 heat presses, ? Please advise. Thank you. So basically looking at heat printing for mass customization, mass production. Any tips that anybody wants to offer on that?
Absolutely. I think it's totally doable to do high volume using transfers only. Of course, it depends on how many applications per garment you're looking at as to how many you're going to get through, but using a simple Transfer Express goof proof or something, a 4-second application, I have always, being very, very on the safe side, have said we can get one design per minute, which is very, very conservative. I've gotten as many as 2 per minute when I'm really moving. It depends on what all we're asking the person working the heat press to do. Are we checking sizes? Are we folding? Are we tagging? Or are we just, if we're just putting slapping on designs onto a shirt and throwing onto our cart, have someone else take care of the post production, easily 500 pieces per heat press per day is totally achievable.
Yeah, so quick math would say, you would need 10 heat presses to hit that sort of middle of the road that David asked about, 5,000 shirts a day.
If that's per day, yeah. Yeah.
And I know that you start to look at the advancement of heat press technology and automation. There's some real ways to reduce the time per print from the operator's perspective with the dual air fusion is one great way.
Yeah, it is, and you also have to think about what else is going to be flowing through the business, because when we talk about a heat printing business, it's not necessarily just screen printed transfers or CAD cut transfers, because a heat press is going to touch a lot of different technologies, specifically in the print on demand market. Heat press is pretty much necessary for direct to garment printing, and that's where we as Stahls have seen a lot of growth with our customer base, is actually investing in a piece of equipment that Stahls doesn't necessarily sell or support, but the heat press is absolutely necessary to touch that garment for the pre-treatment purposes and also for the post-curing purposes. So the heat press is a little bit, it's wider than just screen printed transfers and CAD cut transfers.
Yeah, and let's not kid ourselves. If we're doing high quantity of prints, the same design over and over with the screen printed type finish, 5,000 pieces a day, screen printing is going to be the better production method.
Absolutely.
But when you start to talk about small batch production, 36 pieces, even 72 pieces, niche fabric types like performance wear or bags or tough to do items, heat printing becomes a real viable solution. And when you start to talk about personalized products, heat printing is it, as far as being able to cut, weed, apply to do fast production. So I understand there's some questions coming in now from our live viewers, so let's go to one of those.
So Pat would like to know, can you create a rhinestone design in CADWorks, and are there any tutorials for that?
Okay, Courtney, you want to take that one?
I will. There's not a way to create a rhinestone tutorial as far as taking a vector image or clip art and putting the stone path to that image. What there is, there are a few rhinestone dot fonts that are in there, so you could use a font to make a name like Courtney and create that name in the rhinestone font.
Yeah, so you could do like a faux rhinestone cutting on a material like a glitter flake or a hologram, but to do the actual rhinestone templatings with the specific stone size and brush it in, it's not going to be a workflow currently supported by CADWorks. So just as a follow-up, does anybody have any recommendation or have seen anything out there that would work for that process? If not, I have some, but I just thought I'd throw it out first.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you? What do you have?
Okay, I know that Roland makes a solution, Roland Cut Studio, that's an advanced version of the Cut Studio that will do some rhinestone templating, especially if you have a Roland device that you can use. And I know the Rhinestone World is a great company that sells bulk rhinestones that we work with a lot. They sell a plug-in version, make sure I'm looking at the right camera, plug-in version for Corel that you can add to Corel to sort of create some macros and automate the way you would apply those rhinestones to a design. So those are a couple different ones that are out there. I know Roland's solution used to be about $500, and I know that the Corel plugin was a couple $100s, maybe a few $100s from the Rhinestone World. There are a lot of companies building complete $3,000, $4,000 programs that you can invest in that have a lot of artwork already pre-done in them as well. Digital Art Solutions would be another option that creates rhinestone software.
Correct.
All right, another question coming in.
Okay, so Laura would like to know if you have any tips or tricks for heat printing on polyester reversible basketball jerseys. She's planning on using thermofilm and asking more about the actual heat pressing process.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm sorry, who did this come in from, Joe?
Laura?
Laura, okay. Who wants to take, I'm sure there's a lot to talk about reversibles, one of the toughest jobs to print, most time consuming to print, so it's important to get the efficiency in the process. Who wants to kick that off?
Let Bob.
Well, one thing that a troubleshooting type of thing is first of all, make sure you split that jersey. They've got multiple layers because you've got two different components kind of sewn together, but they're wide open on the bottom. So you want to make sure that you're threading that shirt on, because more times than not, this is a mesh jersey, and your adhesive is going to mash the other design together, and there'll be a permanent application if you don't spread that out to start with. And that's probably the number one thing that I'd be concerned with.
Okay, so making sure you split. Thermofilm's a good product choice,
Yep.
right? Because anytime we're dealing with polyester, we can have bleeding issues. So thermofilm's going to be a great choice. I will say you can stick to a single color per side. That would be recommended, because you talk about both sides being decorated with thermofilm, pretty thick material. If you start to build up layers, it's going to get pretty heavy for whoever is wearing that jersey.
It's usually a low-cost item to start with anyway. They're usually just a practice type of jersey, so they're not going to go with the multiple colors to start with anyway, so it's a good thing.
Yeah, and often there's not even a name on it.
Right.
It's just numbers, so pre-cut numbers is a perfect solution for that as well. Any other tips on reversibles?
Just as far as workflow goes, just recommend printing one side of the reversible, all of it first, and then moving to the other side rather than doing the reversing at the press.
Yeah, and especially if you have a threadable heat press, you can actually print and spin it on the press, depending on how you're threading it and loading it on the machine.
And double check the number that's on the other side so you don't give the guy dual agency.
There you go.
Yeah, that's always challenging. So hopefully that answers your question. If you have any follow-up comments, feel free to submit them and we'll hit it again. What else we have coming in, Joe?
Okay, Mary would like to know that when you use CADWorks and you don't have a supported cutter, how can you export your finished design so it can be brought into Corel or your cutter software, which I believe she has down as Vinyl Master Cut?
Okay. So a couple different ways to do this in CADWorks. There is an export after you create your vector art where you can export it as a vector PDF. So on the a vector PDF is pretty much a universal file format that most softwares will read. You can also export as a PLT, would be another option that you can try to see if your particular cut driver reads. But basically create the artwork, you go up to File and Export as one of the vector file formats to make sure it maintains that cuttable art going into your driver. Now, if you're cutting software, sometimes there's proprietary solutions out there. They won't accept the PDF or PLT because they want you to use their design software. One perhaps way to get around that is to bring it in first through Corel or Illustrator, and typically you can convert into more file formats there. But you know, the only real challenges that I've seen with going from CADWorks to a particular cutter is some of the craft cutters that have the proprietary file formats.
Yeah, and with the craft cutters, like I've worked with a Silhouette, we actually will export it as a JPEG and then bring it into the Silhouette Cameo software and do a trace to create the vector image. So CADWorks will allow you to do a JPEG export as well if your software allows for a trace.
Yeah, so there's some workarounds there, and obviously the quality, the integrity of the art will downgrade every time you sort of trace and then move on and then trace again. So depending on who you're producing for, odds are if you have a craft cutter, that sort of quality of the print is going to be acceptable with the trace that the software will do. Good. All right, more questions.
Okay, so Robbie is asking about SuperTech heat applied vinyl, where to find the application instructions for it. He used it about a year ago. He's going to get back to using some more in that year. Forgot what the instructions are. So where would he find that?
Is that to me?
Yeah.
I would say look at Stahls.com. So all of the application instructions are listed right on the product page there. So if you go to Stahls.com, just look up the SuperTech product that you were using, if it was opaque or Sublistop. All of those will always be there. The application for SuperTech is around 280 degrees. It varies. It could go up to 320 if needed. But 280, 5 seconds, warm peel, and 5 more seconds with a cover sheet is ideal for the two-step application.
Yeah, so anytime you need application instructions, Stahls.com, just search on the keyword application instructions, and you can get them all right there at one place.
Okay, Evelyn would like to know, how would I start a fulfillment business with print cut machines?
A fulfillment business with print cut machines. So I take that as, Evelyn, if you can just clarify, you want to fulfill for other people versus, I assume that's what that means. If you own a print cut machine, wanting to start up and actually allow people to contract decorate from you. So any tips on setting up as a contract decorator? I know both of you have some experience there.
Yeah.
You're on.
So contract decorating is it's a great way to grow your business. I don't necessarily think that it's a great way to start off to be the only part of your business, because typically as a contract decorator you're selling to someone to resell. So the margins in contract decorating are a little bit lower. Not that it can't be profitable, but it won't be the most profitable business that you can get. However, as a startup, if you're just getting started in the business, it requires you to call on a lot less customers if they're bringing in the business to you. You can set up 5 people that you contract with, but touch 500 customers because you're getting 100 from each one of them. So it's an interesting way to start your business. As far as doing it with print cut technology, you're definitely going to want to offer the full range of products that print cut gives you, from stickers to magnets to banners. There's a lot of high margin work to be done on that non-apparel side. As far as apparel goes, I would recommend specializing in letting people or decorating performance wear for people with print cut technology, because that's really where it stands out from other one-off customization type technologies to decorate apparel.
Good. And then some specific tips when you're setting up for print cut. Obviously, if I'm thinking about establishing pricing for contract work, cost is driven a lot by complexity in the design.
Right.
So having maybe a price point per square inch, or for large, medium, small designs for a simple design, which means relatively easy. I think you call it a fist logo, right? Relatively easy to weed logos versus something that's a complex price that's going to consume a lot more of your time and labor as far as weeding. Even free-floating pieces. Doesn't have to be really intricate, but it just takes a lot more time.
Yeah, we've had in the past, I've used like 3 different tiers: simple, complex, and then complex plus, which is like, I wouldn't even do this for me, but you're going to pay if you want it, if you need to have this. So it's going to be a lot more labor intensive. I agree with Zach. I think it's a good idea. I mean, ultimately, I'd like to be selling direct, so like I'm assuming all the margin that's available to that on that sale. But having an investment and being able to capture additional, if you have no sales for it, then sure, subcontracting that out, networking with people around you, and taking care of that contract decorating, keeping your machine running even a little bit less margins is still better than no margin at all.
Yeah, so establish some business rules, establish price grids. Other important factors would be turn time, products offered. All of those key things are going to help you be successful. Evelyn, thanks for the question. What do we have next?
And Evelyn did type in that, yes, she's looking to add it to her existing business, just in small batches, doing fulfillment for other folks.
Okay, excellent.
But Keith would like to know, what is the best VersaCam to make an investment in?
Oh, wow.
Well, there's a loaded question.
Yeah, the
Well,
one that's free.
Yes, the one that's given to you.
There's some follow-up questions that need to happen to be able to give a recommendation.
There are. You're looking at volume and exactly how many, how many pieces you're expected to produce. Because you're looking to make that investment, a lot of cases you may want to consider looking past the startup smaller, slower unit while it prints with the same quality as and on all the same type of media that the other ones, the bigger and faster ones do. You might outgrow it fairly quickly because it is a fraction of the speed and efficiency, the number of items I can produce on this machine. I may outgrow that. Now we're down to, what are we printing? Am I looking at a lot of photo quality images? I need a bigger color gamut as far as the number of colors I can produce, my grayscale, my gradients, my fades. Should I go to an 8-color system versus a 4-color? There's a lot of people making a lot of money for a lot of years with a simple 4-color system that's a fairly affordable, low teens type of investment as far as thousands go. It may not be a bad way to go. 30-inch machine will do everything except for banners and car wraps. So if you can outsource those, you can minimize your investment on the front end and still collect all the additional revenue from what the machine can do.
All right, so if budget's not a factor.
Budget's not a factor. Get
What's
the
the
biggest,
granddaddy?
fastest, strongest. Well, you got the newer. I wouldn't even go that far. That's just out of control. I would get a 54-inch, the best overall efficiency. 54-inch VersaCam right now is the VG 540.
Yeah, so 540 is going to allow you to do all those sign graphics and really leverage the machine to its full capability. And then the only decision you need to make on is in configuration.
Yeah, and if you have space. I mean, a lot of folks don't get the 54 because they're in a tight space, and that's a real concern. So, yeah, weigh one against the other about what your priorities are with the investment to start.
Okay. Otherwise, just call Evelyn.
There you go. Evelyn's looking for people.
All right, good. We'll connect people here. All right, Jay, what else we got flowing in?
Patricia asks, what techniques do you use for heat transfer foil?
Wow. So foil is a fun product. You're looking at me.
That's all you.
Yeah. I like to break the rules a little bit,
Yes, he
and
does.
foil is one of those products that encourages creativity and breaking the rules. So we have a tutorial that we did. It was a full 45-minute class or an hour class where it talks about the guide to starting with heat transfer foil. And you can do some single color techniques. You can crumble up the foil in a ball and do some two-color mix and match techniques. You can also cut the foil into pieces and do some sort of color blocking techniques with it. Those would be, I would say, 3 of the more popular. And then if you can really want to go out of the box, you can cut like a Teflon sheet and create like a blockout layer and do some knockout designs in foil. So we've done a ton of different tutorials on foil since we picked up the product here at Stahls. But to start off with, I would do a 1 color, and I would do the distress pattern techniques. I think are the easiest 2 to execute to get started. One quick tip is use a ring spun cotton or use a tri-blend. Use a garment that has a tighter weave is going to get you a lot better finish quality with any of the techniques that you'll employ versus a cheap carded cotton t-shirt where you tend to see little pinholes in the finish.
What does it take to check a technique?
Many styles.
Okay, thanks. If there's any early 90s rap music fans out there, they'll get the reference.
All right, what do we got next? You guys didn't get it?
Nah.
Second was before me.
For you, yeah.
Yeah, I'm too young
All
for
right.
that.
Okay, Laura has followed up with another question. Has a Hottronics Fusion, would like to supplement the 16 by 20 with all the platens that Hottronics offers.
Okay.
Needs to have the business generated in order to do that. So right now, if she was to pick one, what would be the platen to supplement?
Ooh, I have
Great
2
question.
picks. I have
Great
2
question.
picks. Everybody's going to chime in on this, so keep it concise.
So if we were getting a Christmas gift of a Fusion Platen, which one would it be?
And she only has a 16 by 20. There's 2 I'm going to have to choose. All right, start it.
Everybody's
I-
gonna pick the same 2.
It depends on, Laura, it depends on your market. If you're selling into an urban market, I'm going to go with the cap platen, the under the bill cap platen. If I'm not, and I'm just doing a bunch of youth and women's apparel, I'm going to go with the 11 by 15. So I personally would probably go 11 by 15.
Okay. Courtney?
All right, I'm going to follow up your market segment, but I'm going to go with 2 different platens. I again would go 11 by 15 if you're just doing the standard ladies garments, men's garments. That'll kind of allow you to do everything from adult to youth. But I'm also going to follow up with possibly a 6 by 10 if you're going to be doing a lot of children's apparel. I tend to think that works really well for smaller toddler or onesies and things like that. So it kind of allows you to print that market.
And why would you be focusing on children's apparel?
Well, because I like children.
Oh, okay. It wouldn't be because you're having one in February.
Well,
would it?
I do
Okay.
print a lot of children's apparel right now.
All right.
All right, Bob. I'm going to save myself for last here.
She took my answer.
Ah, too bad.
The stats don't lie. 11 by 15, 6 by 10, those are our top 2 selling platens, and for all the reasons mentioned, including not just the onesies and youth for the 6 by 10, but also bags and umbrellas and everything that's kind of semi-hard to fit on with the threadability. The 6 by 10 gives you a lot of options there for the non-wearables on top of the smaller designs.
Okay. And I'm going to go hat bill. And the reason why is I think while it won't be as efficient, I think I can accommodate all the other applications mentioned with heat printing pillows or print perfect pads. And I think the hat bill really does something differently. It allows me to do an item that I can't do with another accessory.
True.
Additionally, it also gives me the ability, the hat bill, believe it or not, you can use to heat print the side of shoes as well. So while it won't get the full range of application of the shoe platen, you can certainly use it to do the under the bill hats, the shoes, the top of the bill of hats, and then short sleeve prints. So there's a few different applications, but you can't go wrong. What I would do is ask
all.
yeah, definitely. They're all 11 by 15, 6 by 10, hat bill, all good recommendations, and nobody even mentioned a leg and sleeve. That can be
I actually thought that's where you were going to go, was leg and sleeve.
just because I have to be different.
Yeah.
Okay, we're approaching on 30 minutes, but we want to stick around as long as some questions are coming in. So if there's any additional questions, Joe, go ahead and fire them in.
Ruben would like to know if there are any new techniques available for laser cutting.
Hey, Ruben. I know Ruben because I think Ruben, if I remember correctly, shared some videos or photos on laser cutting initially when we did the training on the Stahls TV forum. Some really cool stuff, so thanks for that. We've been working closely with Universal Laser on just adding more materials to their profile system to be able to laser cut easily and efficiently. So right now we still have the core techniques that are raster ablation, kiss cutting, just through the film, not through the carrier, and cutting all the way through. But I think you'll start to see some development there as far as what products you can use with your laser. Seeing a lot of tips and techniques that they're coming up with as well, even for two-color applications and how to make that more efficient for laser cutting. So while nothing immediate to share, know that that's a key content area for us in 2017, and we'll be bringing Universal to Stahls TV with some videos to teach some new techniques.
Tracy would like to know if I can only do one trade show in 2017. What would be your suggestion from February through December?
February through December, so that rules out the January shows, right? Okay.
Yes, it does.
I'm pretty quick.
I did that math too. I got it.
Because you know the one I was going to recommend.
Well,
was
yeah,
January.
right, yeah.
Okay, Courtney, start us off.
I'm going to go with ISS Atlantic City. I think because it does for the East Coast what the Long Beach show does for the West Coast, where a lot of companies bring their newest products, their latest for the year, and so that one has a lot of vendors for the apparel industry, a lot of blank apparel providers, a lot of different technology, and a lot of new techniques, as well as education to learn a lot as well.
Right. Any different recommendations than ISS Atlantic City?
Well, I always want to make qualifications with my recommendations,
Sure you
so you know, it really depends on what you're going for. Are you looking to make an equipment investment? Do you want to find out what's new in decorating? Are you looking to expand globally, internationally, maybe? It really depends on the business, but I recommend the SGIA show if you are into the large format digital printing. If you really want to see what's cutting edge and maybe coming down the pipe in smaller formats in years to come at the ISS shows. A lot of stuff shows up at SGIA first, and then in a large format version, and then gets whittled down into our smaller format equipment. So I would recommend SGIA.
Yeah, and even if the technology, if you want to stay ahead of the technology curve from a print technique standpoint, even before SGIA, typically the international show, the FESPA show, is a great place to go. But you're right, ISS is probably the best place I can think of as far as if you're sourcing blank apparel as well. So if that's a reason for going in addition to print technology, that's a great place. Any additional thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I'm going to echo the ISS wherever it is, because, if nothing else, education too. Now, there's a lot of educational opportunity within the ISS show program. Some folks, though, and to flip all the, we keep going these mega shows,
Right.
SGIA. Some folks like to go to the smaller show. They get a little more one-on-one, less, there's not quite as much competition as far as, vying for the attention of the vendors, and spend some real quality time and maybe get some real in-depth education there too. So I know that I just didn't really give you an answer,
Right.
but it gave you some things to consider. And as like Zach says, you have to qualify what's your point of going.
Yeah.
Some people may be saying, it's Orlando because it's warm there.
Yeah. Or I'm looking for good food and a vacation experience as well.
I can help you
It
with
makes
that.
a difference.
Yeah. So, okay. So
Hey, if
our
you're
real
investing the money, you want to eat.
all-
recommendation of one is no real recommendation of one
Right.
because they're all good. But
If-
there's some
yeah.
options.
ISS Atlantic City would probably be the one.
If not Long Beach in January, but we've ruled that one out, yeah.
All right.
All right.
That's probably as clear as mud. But
Yeah.
thaned for the question. We enjoyed
Yeah.
talking
We
about
had a good time.
We love all our trade shows.
Pat would like to know if you can give any hints or on any of the hot styles or trends that should be showing up in 2017.
Yeah, so we have a class on this December 30th that's coming up that's trends for 2017, sort of forecasting the year from a decoration and blank apparel. But Courtney, I know you've been doing a lot of work here. Any things you're seeing overall that we can recommend now?
I think with blank apparel specifically, we're going to continue to see a lot of two things. One's going to be textures. So you're going to see a lot of the blank apparel, including different finishes, marbling, different washes, acid washes. A lot of that's going to show up in apparel. And then we're also going to see a lot of athleisure. So just continuing with the blends that we saw in 2016, where a lot of the fabrics are no longer just a 50-50 or 100% of one type. They're including a lot of different mixes and blends, which create some challenges for printing that we'll have to overcome in 2017.
Yeah, so tri-blends are something that if you're not on that by now, you need to get on it, because more companies are wanting a softer garment, and it gives you a great place to differentiate a price point and make more money on a sale by doing a basic t-shirt, but also merchandising a softer style and a tri-blend as you come into these sales opportunities. Any other trend stuff relative to apparel that you guys want to share?
I think you mentioned that raglan sleeves are back, even though it was something that was huge back in the 70s, 80s, whatever, for old people like me. But the basic raglan sleeves, where the seam is not right on the shoulder, but gives you a diagonal seam from like almost like a color block type of thing.
Yeah, that's coming back, as well as the dad hat. So we're seeing two things.
Yes!
Remember, Bob, you're going to finally be back in trend.
I'm back in
with
style.
the raglan sleeves and the dad hat.
back in
But yeah, those are definitely two things we'll see next coming year too.
You know what never went out of trend? Flannel.
Yep.
That's right.
Nailed it.
And the raglan sleeve sort of brought up the market of children's apparel. So things are different in different markets, but you see a lot of the ruffles being extremely popular in children's apparel as well. So we'll share much more in-depth trend information on that December 30th show, so you can sign up on stahlstv.com. All right, I think we're going to do two more questions and then close it off.
Okay, so Patricia purchased a Hottronics heat press in 2014, and her platens actually bolt onto her press.
Yes, they do.
Is it possible to get a 6x10 platen for that press?
Yes. Yeah, just make sure you specify the model. It's just not the quick change platen on the site. It is just a different based on the model that you're offering. So absolutely.
And then our final question, Evelyn has come back to us again, asking Bob, are there any other ideas to keep print cut running? And she's also looking for a suggestion on a catering work shirt.
Keep your print cut running. Don't be afraid to diversify. That's the most versatile piece of equipment that I know is when it comes to apparel decoration or graphics for that matter. So it's not just the any fabric. It doesn't have to be cotton, doesn't have to be polyester. It can be any fabric. We have media that will apply to all, but then also look at the add-on sales. Decals are just a no-brainer. There's a lot of money to be made there, and they're very simple to produce because typically they're very simple when they're as far as the cutting and weeding. Sometimes no mask is even necessary. So that's a great way as a fundraiser for schools to sell them for this much. They make money, you make money, and it's next to no real effort on your part. So think outside the norm as far as apparel decoration, decals, signs, banners, wall graphics, satin canvas, gallery wrap type of canvas where you're seeing your pictures, wedding photos, those type of things. High perceived value there, and so there's a lot more, even though it doesn't cost you a ton to produce, the finished product can be sold for a much higher margin.
Yeah, so even moving outside of traditional contract work for apparel decorators, but contract work for photographers, frame shops,
Absolutely.
different applications.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, I think that was our final question. Do we have any other ones that are just hanging out there? Is there a lot of stuff coming in? No, we're pretty clear. Okay, if there's some stuff we didn't get to and overlooked, we apologize, and we'll do our best to post those to the Stahls TV forum and provide responses to everybody there. And from the team at Stahls TV, we thank you for watching today, and we wish you and your families a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And be sure to join us on the December 30th trend class, our last class, correct?
Yeah.
Before the end of the year. Thanks for watching.